Hey, what's going on? I'd like to welcome every single one of you to Water Your Soil. So, this is a special one because today we're going to have an interview with Tasha from Major Change Group. And one of the reasons why I decided to bring Tasha onto the channel is actually the first interview that I'm having over at this Water Your Soil channel. But one of the reasons why I decided to have her is because she gives so much valuable information on how to get out of credit card debt, personal finances, budgeting, Navy Federal. There is so much knowledge that she has over at her Major Change Group channel. And I decided to come on here and interview her so you all could be introduced to her if you haven't been introduced to her. And we could just share knowledge on how to decrease your credit card debt, because this is about effective ways and effective solutions to decrease your credit card debt, as well as staying out of credit card debt and avoiding it. And then we're also going to talk about budgeting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for you all to come in and make sure you hit the like button when you're in here. And then after that, we're going to get right into the interview. So I'll give you about maybe 10 seconds, and then I'm going to go right into it. So it's 10 people in here right now. Feel free to hit the chat. Feel free to ask questions later on, but this is going to be a good, valuable interview. You may want to go and get you a pen and a notepad. That way you'll know what's up. But if you can hear me good, make sure you let me know in the chat. That way we could continue on and get this done. I really appreciate all of you for taking out the time on your Sunday evening to come by, show love, and listen and watch this interview. All right. So shout out to your green thumb. I appreciate you for coming by. Yeah, definitely. She's definitely great. Make sure you all subscribe to Tasha while you have a chance. But this is gonna be a good one. As I stated, you want to stay tuned and watch this one and watch it in full. But without further ado, I'm gonna bring her on so you all can be introduced to her and get the knowledge. All right.
Hey, what's
Hey,
going
what's going
on?
on, Tasha?
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem, no problem. So what the way how I'm gonna go about doing this is I'm gonna just ask you questions, but before that, I want to do a get an introduction from you. I want to get an introduction in regards to letting everyone know your channel, how you got your start with your channel, and what got you into credit cards and personal finance.
Yes, of course. So I'm Tasha from the Major Change Group, and I got my start on YouTube in 2019. And so when I started, it was like I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So I was doing traveling, but then also I was doing more so with our credit. How can we decrease, our debts and make sure that we're increasing our credit score? And so that's how I got started doing that. And then I just evolved into talking about credit cards because I love, applying for credit cards because I want to use the points and the cash back for travel and things like that. But we have to have a baseline with using our credit, but then also making sure that we're budgeting our money as well.
All right, cool. So I definitely I feel you. You're close to that 10,000 range. Now
Mhm.
I hit my 10,000 range. I believe that was in July, and it was a
Okay.
big moment because that 10,000 range was something, a personal goal that I set aside,
Mhm.
and you're close. So we're looking forward to it and anticipating you hitting that 10,000 subscribers as well. But
Yeah.
I will say, I got another question for you.
Yeah.
So when it comes to budgeting and things like that and
Mhm.
tackling credit card debt, what actually made you really lock in on that when you wanted to present it to your channel?
Budgeting. So I'll say going back, I didn't necessarily think about YouTube, but I always thought, how like on the weekends you'll go to the library and there's somebody in the library and y'all talking about different topics. I thought
Yeah.
I would probably be doing something like that because I always kind of had wanting to talk about budgeting. So I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee, and we have Dave Ramsey here. So,
Yeah.
I love Dave Ramsey. While I don't agree with maybe every single thing, is because especially since I like credit cards, but I would just talk about budgeting, and I would help out my friends and family in regard to budgeting. And then even at church, I would help out, with the college ministry and, with budgeting. And so I always thought, well, maybe I would do it at the library. And then in 2018, was helping out at the church, and they wanted us to send over a 1 minute video. And so mine was it was preparation. So that's my first video. And oh my goodness, man, it probably took me about 50 times just to do that little 60-second preparation video. And so
Yeah.
that's really how I got started. But I never thought that I would be on YouTube, because one, just talking in front of the camera is just so different. And, just so nervous being, talking in front of the camera and stuff. And once I did that, and, you just evolve. And so I just try to get better and better with it.
Yeah, that was an issue for me as well. Getting in front of the camera, I actually didn't get in front of the camera for a good 6 months. I just was posting videos, and no one knew who I was. No one knew what I looked like. No one knew any of that. But
Yeah.
then I was like, I got to get in front of the camera, even though I don't really like that type of attention
Yeah.
outside of YouTube. But I was like,
Mhm.
I got to get in front of the camera to let people know,
Yeah.
hey, this is a real person. And it actually picked up my channel once I did hop in front of the camera. So if
Okay.
you're someone out there and you are, trying to start a YouTube channel or you're thinking about it, you just got to take that leap. Tasha took it, I took it, many of others took it,
Mhm.
and it just comes along with it. You're gonna have to have that courage to do it.
Yep.
But that's pretty good. So I got a question.
Mhm.
And credit card debt is right now at $1.14 trillion. This
Yes.
is right now the most ever. The
Mhm.
balances are ridiculous.
Right.
And it's no secret, you've done videos about it, I've done videos about it. There are countless amounts of articles in regards to credit card debt.
Right.
But my question to you is, for someone who's getting started with credit cards, what steps can they take in order to manage their credit cards correctly?
I think that's a great question. So I would say first, I think in any goal that we gotta have a why and a baseline. So I would say, why do I want to apply for these credit cards? And then I would kind of go from there and then see like what are my categories, because it's just like you don't want to just be going out here and applying for different credit cards. But then also when we think about credit card debt, if my baseline, I'm all over the place to where I don't know how much money I have coming in, I'm not able to save money, and I'm behind on my bills, then maybe right now it might not be the time for me to apply for a credit card. And so for my baseline, I just need to get organized in my finances. So how much money do I have coming in compared to going out? And then am I current? Because like for me, I like to use my credit cards for everything. most likely I'm not going to be having no cash in my pocket. And then I'm going to be using my credit card for everything. But with me doing that, I want to make sure, can I pay the credit card off every month? So if I am not able to do that, then, and if I don't have any credit cards, then maybe it might not be a good thing for me to do that. First, I want to get organized in what I'm doing. And then once I'm organized, possibly I could see about opening up a credit card. But then
Okay.
two, making sure before I even open up a credit card, how is my credit looking? So, is my profile thin and my credit score is bad? Because I've been paying my bills late. So if that's the case, really take a look to see how can I improve my credit score before I just start applying for credit cards.
Yeah, that's I definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty big as far as people wanting to know how to manage credit cards, because a lot of times people see the perks when it comes to these credit cards, and they
Yeah.
see the airport lounges, they see the flights and the hotels and
Mhm.
things like that.
Yeah.
They see all of those things, but some people actually sign up for credit cards without knowing how to manage them. So management is so important, especially for someone who's starting out
Yeah.
with credit cards. You have to know
Mhm.
how to manage your card because if not, it get you in trouble in the
Get you in
future.
trouble real quick.
Correct, correct. So you're big on budgeting. Your
Mhm.
channel, you have a whole playlist based on budgeting.
Yes.
So these are tough financial times right now for some people because every time I do a video exposing what's going on in the news in regards to, debt and where the country is currently at as far
Mhm.
as the financial debt and credit card debt and things like that. People they
Mhm.
come by and they leave comments and they say, "Hey, I don't really have the money to pay off credit card debt, or I don't have the money to do this and that." So
Mhm.
you're big on budgeting. What advice do you have for people? Whether they're just starting out with credit cards or in general when it comes to budgeting, because that's a big deal right now.
And what I'm gonna say, and it's so funny because I can see the comments. I think we have to be realistic with ourselves and disciplined. Because it's funny that you say this, because well, just kind of going off a little bit. So I'm doing a savings challenge on my channel, 26-week savings challenge, $5,000. And I was doing a video. I'm gonna be posting it later today to where right now we should have saved $1,705. Well, y'all, I'm only at like $454. And
Hmm.
so for me, I'm not where I want to be. One, because I wasn't realistic in thinking about what am I doing for the summer. So I've been traveling, going out and all that kind of stuff. But then two, I haven't been disciplined. And so I think one, in regards to budgeting, I don't think we're realistic in how much money we have coming in compared to going out. Do we even know how much money we make every month? And then do we even know how much all of our bills are? And then two, with the discipline part, like last week I had went to this concert. It was like at the last minute, like an hour, I had made my mind up. But it's like the concert was like 200, it was a lot. And I had to pay for parking. And I knew when I had bought the tickets that I wasn't at my savings point. So it's just like on the one hand, I'm just trying to consume and I want what I want. But then it's just like, is my goal for the savings challenge, was that in my mind? You see what I'm saying? So it's just
Yeah.
like sometimes we can't just do everything that we want to. So I think that's where the discipline part comes in. So I think in regards to budgeting, first things first is create the foundation and knowing how much we have coming in compared to going out. Because sometimes I feel like, you know, we think maybe, do I make enough money or not? And I feel like I think we do. I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
sometimes there are people that might not, but realistically, even when I was in debt, before, I'm just like, I was just spending my money. I didn't have I just wanted to do what I wanted to do and just use the credit cards. And so that's why I say, one, you have to be disciplined and know what your goals are. And so that's why I say, first, just see your foundation. Are all my bills paid? Am I current on all my bills? And then how much money I have coming in compared to going out? How much do I have left over? And then that's what we'll be able to plan realistically for things that we want to do. But I think we really just want to do what it is that we want to do with our money. We're on Instagram and Facebook and all these things, and we're seeing people travel, and we want to do what they want to do. You see what I'm saying? And so we just want to spend our money. So I think we overconsume. I overconsume. You see what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of why we're in this place that we're in.
Yeah, I definitely agree. One thing that I will say, I started off my journey like what 2014, early 2015, and learning how to budget was a big deal of me being able to increase my credit score from poor to excellent credit. So budgeting is huge. If
Yeah.
you're watching this and you're out there, please listen to what she's saying
Mhm.
because budgeting is huge. Even when it comes down to things like your credit cards, I set aside budgets every month for each card that I have, and I know
Mhm.
which amount I don't want to go over. And that helps with things like utilization,
Yeah.
everything. So you want to make sure that you are paying attention to your budget because, like she said, a lot of times people could be in debt and they're on Instagram. Instagram is big. It's interesting you mentioned Instagram because that's where you see a lot of floss and a lot of
Mhm.
wanting to keep up with the Joneses. But those were great points. So when it comes to credit card debts,
Mhm.
what are some effective ways to cut down on your credit card debt?
So one, like I'm always gonna say, that create that foundation. So one, you want to get all of your credit cards that you have and see how much do you owe on those credit cards. Then I will probably see what are my interest rates on those credit cards. And then if you're doing your budget, you'll know how much you have coming in compared to going out. And so it's just like, how can I decrease my credit? And so for me, I really, really love talking about credit card utilization because to
Yeah,
me, that's where it's at. If you want to increase your credit score fast, you got to tackle the credit card utilization. And
correct.
so I would say the first approach is, seeing how much money do I have left over to where I can tackle it. So, do you want to do a debt snowball? So that way you can get those quick wins and then you can just pay it down, but really see where am I at? Am I 50% utilization? Am I 30% utilization? And see if you can get it. I would say 10% or less. But really, you want to get to a point to where you're not paying interest on credit cards because we can be using that money for other stuff. So I think that's why it's best to do your budget so that you're not paying interest on credit cards. But then the second part is you could possibly try to do a balance transfer. So I've done this before to where, like, one time before, because I had so many different credit cards. So I don't know how I ended up with two Bank of America credit cards. And I want to say it was the same one, but I don't remember what they are because Bank of America had closed them. And so I use all my credit cards differently. So for this one credit card, I had to get my HVAC had went out. So I had got my HVAC fixed. And so I had put it on a credit card. Well, I didn't pay it off. And so what I did was I had got the Discover It. And so the Discover It had to where I want to say it was either 15 or 18 months where you can have 0% no interest. So I had transferred it over to the Discover It. And then I created a goal to pay it down. So I believe I had paid it down either within 12 or 14 months. Now, the only thing with the balance transfer, that could be a real tricky part to do a balance transfer. So that's why I think if you try the first approach by seeing how much money you have left over and creating a plan, that's probably going to be the best way. But to me, I don't want to pay interest. So, with the balance transfer, but you have to have a plan because you don't want to transfer the debt and then once your months are over, then you are getting interest on that. So it's just like create that plan to where you can pay it down. And so then I had ended up paying it down. It was either 12 or 14 months. So I would try those two approaches with paying down debt. But it's still, the baseline is always going to be budgeting.
Definitely. Now it's kind of interesting. It's ironic that you mentioned credit card utilization because that's actually my next question. In
Mm-hmm.
regard to credit card utilization, it's a big deal. My next video that's coming out this week will actually be on credit card utilization.
Yes.
But when it comes to credit card utilization, you have a playlist on credit card utilization.
Mm-hmm.
And for those people who are watching this, because people are going to watch it live, they're going to watch it on the playback.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain credit card utilization and not only just explain it, but also say and mention how credit card utilization has helped you out in your own credit journey?
Well, I would say, credit card utilization. So we have the five components of our credit. So we have our payment history, our credit card utilization, our length of credit, our new credit, and our credit mix. And so with the payment history and the credit utilization, that's 65% of our credit. But see, 30% of that is going to be our credit utilization. And so for me, yes, you want to pay your bills on time, but if you get those late payments, that's going to negatively affect it, but it's going to take time for you to increase your credit score through if you actually get a late payment. But with
Correct.
credit card utilization, let's say if you are over 50% utilized, if you can get that 30% or even lower, 20% lower, you can increase your credit score. And so let's say if you are trying to get a credit line increase, if you're trying to get a car or whatever, that's why you would want to decrease your credit utilization. And so for me, I would say, because I know, because I would say with credit card utilization, just because you have debt, you have good debt and bad debt, but it's just like, even if you have utilization on your credit, it's not horrible because you can still actually have a good credit score by, having debt. But to me,
Correct.
it's not the best way because you're going to be paying interest. And it's just like, why do we want to pay interest to the banks or the credit unions and not have that money for ourselves? Because I think, especially if you are trying to get the cash back, use the points for trips and things like that, it's like you're really breaking even. So to me, I think that's why we should not pay interest on credit cards, because I want the points and the cash back, but I really want to use it and not be breaking even. And so, with, let's say if you want to get credit cards, if you have a low interest rate, the banks are going to say, okay, I can give this person more credit. But then there are other reasons that you want your credit score to be good. Because let's say you're trying to get you're trying to rent, you are trying to get a house, you're trying to get a car. And so I think for me, how it's helped me is with my utilization being low. I was able to, I think almost 4 years ago, I was able to get a car and I got the lowest interest rate. Now,
Nice.
also was with a credit union as well. So I think with being with the credit union, you're able to get the lower rates too. But you want banks to want to lend money to you. But if you're with all your credit cards maxing them out and having high utilization, they're not going to want to loan money to you. And so I think that that's probably the main reason that I would say get your utilization down as low as you can.
Definitely, it's so important because it plays a big role. A
Yep.
lot of people, they try to come by and they argue in regard to utilization, but whether it's 2%, 5%, 7, 8, 10, whatever it is, if it's low, is, it usually has good results. But some people, they don't believe it, but I've seen great results when it comes to utilization. So I have another question for you
Mhm.
in regards to avoiding credit card debt. What would you say is a effective way to avoid credit card debt?
Well, I would say the most effective way to avoiding credit card debt is to really be able to understand our needs and our wants. Because that's why I'm always going to say, if we're over consuming, in a sense, you're not going to be able to,
True.
budget your money. And so that's why we have to be able to understand our spending. But the only way that we're going to be able to understand our spending is either taking 3 months or so of our bank statements and our credit cards, or even just thinking back. If it's too much trauma for you to pull it up, just think back and be realistic with ourselves. And so that's what I'm saying. Even for me, we're in the savings challenge, and I've done savings challenge before and I saved, but then it's just like this time, for the 2 months that we've been doing it, I wasn't realistic with myself because I knew I was going to be traveling, I knew I was going to be doing stuff, but then also, honestly, I wasn't disciplined because
Yeah.
I was just wanting to do the things that I wanted. And so sometimes when we're creating those goals for ourselves, it could be a small subset of time to where I'm not going to be able to just do everything that I want. It doesn't mean that it's going to be all the time, So, like let's say with Dave Ramsey, he's just like rice and beans. And sometimes it can be for
Yeah,
real extended, but it's like you'll get a burnout doing that.
correct.
So it's just like you want to create that realistic thing, but it's just like really we have to be honest with ourselves to where it's just like, I like going out to eat, or I want to go to the grocery store, I want to shop at this grocery store, I want to get these sneakers, or I want to get my hair done, or this or that. It's like be realistic with ourselves as to what we want to do so that we can plan accordingly. But we have to start. And I think a lot of people sometimes don't want to really look at the numbers. And so if you don't look at it, then you don't know.
Correct. That's great information. That's very true. Now, speaking of, you mentioned your savings challenge.
Hmm.
Um, so there are people who are watching this and they're going to be new to learning about you. So when is the next time that you plan on doing another savings challenge for the people who come by and they're new to your content and new to your channel?
Yeah, well, right now we're in the 26-week savings challenge. We're moving into week 10. And so technically you can still join the savings
Okay.
challenge. And, for me, even in the beginning, I've always stated you can save more or less because everybody's, baseline is different. So while you might want to save 3 to 6 months of expenses, somebody else might only want to save 1,000. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I still go back to you have to understand yourself because it's not about what it's like, yeah, you want to watch people on YouTube, but it's like you have to really understand yourself so that you'll know, okay, this credit card is going to work for me or this savings challenge is going to work for me. So you have to understand your spending and what you want. And so if you would like to join the savings challenge, you can always go over to my channel. And what I did, I think it was back in June, I did a poll on my community tab just asking, since we were halfway through the year, for the second half of the year, what goals are you wanting to create for yourself? And so it was pay off debt, save, or invest. And 41% of people said that they wanted to save money. And so I said, well, I'll create this savings challenge. And so that's what we did. And I said, well, you can either do more or less, but just start.
Correct. That's great. That's great because I believe right now people need a savings challenge more than ever. We're still, they say the Fed is going to be cutting rates in September,
Mm,
but it's not going to make that much of a difference. In my latest video, I explained it's not going to make that much of a difference. So people, you need to start saving up and putting some money aside for the
yeah.
future. So if you're
Hmm.
watching this and you want to save some money, go buy a major change group and join her savings challenge.
Yep.
So Tasha, I'm gonna switch the interview in another direction.
Okay.
And we're gonna get off of the debt talk and we're gonna talk about credit cards. So
Okay.
right now, what are your favorite credit cards? Because credit cards are a big deal in the space that we're in, and they're very polarizing. So what
Yep.
is your current favorite credit cards?
My favorite credit card right now. Well, for me, usually my favorite credit card is whichever one I just applied for, and I'm trying to get my minimum spend. That's usually how I'm rolling. But right now, I'm actually using the American Express Gold card, and I just think that's so funny for me because it's so funny because you had a video and you were talking about it, and I was like, I really felt that. I really felt that, and I was like, he probably think I'm crazy in my comment because it was just like I like the gold card, but it's just like I'm not really a fan of the $250, and then now it's going up to 325. But then
Correct.
you were saying, well, it's like if you don't want the 250 or three, can you afford it? And I was just thinking, and I'm just like, you know what? I probably should have never even applied for the American Express Gold Card, and it's not because I can't afford it, but it's just like I'm more so of a no to low, and so that's why I still go back to like you really have to understand your either like what you like and what you don't like, and just like nobody else can push you to do this or that. But since they had the 90K points, I was like, because I'll chase them points. I ain't even gonna lie to you because when they
Yeah.
have the points, that's when I want to apply for it. So it's like I knew for year one it was gonna be a good card, and then my year came. It just came so fast, and so I was still trying to decide was I gonna keep it or was I not gonna keep it, and then they had moved it to the 325, but I still had to pay the 250. It's like it happened right there at the same time. And so they had put the 250 and then it seemed like they had moved it to the 325. But that's the card that I'm really using right now. I really like it because it has the 4 times the points for dining. And I would say for me, my dining is gonna be my highest expense over, other things. And I know that they have made some other changes, but it was just like for me, it was never necessarily about the the categories, like with the now I know it's Dunkin' Donuts and some other things.
Yeah.
That didn't really make me want to apply for it. It was really the 4 times the points for dining, and then they have some other things with the hotel credit, and it's like I really actually like the hotel credit as well. So that's the card that I'm really using right now, but I am going to be looking to apply for another credit card. So I'm thinking about maybe the United credit card. So we'll see. So right now
Okay.
I'll say I'm really using the American Express Gold card, but for me it's still like a love hate. It's like a love hate. I'm just like, that's just kind of so strange, but I'm just being honest. It's like a
Yeah.
kind of like a love hate for it, but I have gotten some value. I did get a lot of value out of it, especially for year one. And so I'm gonna make a video about that coming up.
Okay. Yeah, the gold card is so polarizing. It's either, people love it on YouTube or they hate it. But then you have people like you. You're in between,
Yeah, I'm in
so
between. Yeah.
but I'm pro gold card. I always refer people to the card. I
Hmm.
like the benefits that 4 times points on food and groceries.
Yeah.
You could pick up points so fast with that
Mhm.
card. So,
Yeah.
I'm
And
a fan.
then with the transfer, because I had some points, and especially since you can get usually you can get 2 times the points for
Yeah.
one. So I had transferred some points over to Hilton, and so that's how I was able to. And so I'm just like, that's really
Mhm.
cool. And so I really like that. So it does have some good benefits, but I just had to get my mind off of the 250, because overall, of course I can afford it, but it's just like sometimes I'm just like, I just kind of be a cheapskate sometimes. But it's like if I'm getting the value, so I do feel like I got the value.
Yeah. That's pretty good. That's pretty good because that's good, long as you're getting the value up out of it.
Hmm.
So, I want to know what's the plans for a major change group. Like I said earlier, you're at 8,000 subscribers. You're
Hmm.
above 8,000 actually, and what do you have planned for the future? Because as content creators, we always have to come up with a new plan or from time to time in order to keep things interesting. You
Yeah.
can see I'm doing these lives and
Hmm.
I'm doing interviews. You're actually my first interview, so I thank you for coming on here. But
Yes.
we always have to come up with something new to keep people interested, to
Right.
gain more subscribers and things like
Mhm.
that. So, what do you have planned for Major Change Group going forward?
Wow, that is such a great question. And even what you're saying, so I'm in year 5 of YouTube, and while I do think subscribers, but it's just like for me right now, I'm just not even thinking about subscribers. I'm thinking more so, how can I build community? But one, how can I just make some content? Because I was just like, y'all, oh my God. It's just like
Yeah,
these last couple of months and even like let's say this month, like I haven't posted a video since last week, and it's just like I'm always thinking of ideas, but it's just like really it's the execution for me. And so right now it's all about the views, so it's like, how can I increase my views? But just like what you were saying, and that's kind of what I've been thinking about, it's like, really, I feel like I'm resetting my channel again.
correct.
And so it's just like, even with me doing the savings challenge, it's like those videos really don't get as much views, but I just think that it's so important. I do love to talk about the credit cards, but it's just like, especially, with us being at $1.1 trillion in credit card debt, it's just like, it's good to talk about the budgeting and the savings just to get our baseline good, and then
Correct.
talk about the credit cards. And then I love talking about building credit, especially the credit card utilization. I love talking about credit card utilization. And so I'm really thinking about kind of, revising the channel, and more so just creating more content. And so that's where I'm at right now.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna be closing it out soon, but
Mhm.
before we do close it out, I would like to know: is there anything that you would like to say to the people who are watching, whether they're a subscriber on my channel, your channel, or just someone who's stopping by because they wanted advice on budgeting and how to get out of credit card debt?
You know what? One thing that I did want to say is, with credit card utilization, and I'll usually say you want to report, but when I'm saying report, you still don't want to pay interest on credit cards, because it's just like sometimes I feel like people think, well, in order to report to the credit bureau, you have to pay interest. And I don't think that you have to do that. It's just like you really have to know, okay, when is my due date? But then also, when can I pay it to where even though it's reporting, but I'm not paying any interest on the credit card? And so, I really like the credit card utilization hack, to where you're understanding, your due date and then when it's reporting. And so that's very big for me, because we do not have to pay interest on credit cards just to have credit cards. And so I would say that that's the main thing.
Okay. Yeah, so that's so true in regards to credit card utilization. Like I said, I got a video coming this week, and I know you're gonna come with one soon because it's such a big topic and
Yes.
something people need to focus on. But
Mm-hmm.
I thank you for coming by. Like I said, this is my first interview on this channel. It's the first of many. I plan on interviewing a lot more people, especially people like Sledge, people that
Yeah.
invited me on their channel.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate you. And one of the reasons why I wanted to invite you on as my first guest is because, like I told Sledge in a previous interview, I'm a big fan of your channel because I'm a fan of budgeting, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of, personal finance and credit card utilization, all of the things that go into, a FICO credit score and keeping people out of credit card debt.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, they tend to, believe that credit cards equals debt. Like you have to be in debt, you have to be paying interest.
Nope.
And, people like yourself and me, you don't have to do it. If you
Mm.
know what you're doing, you don't have to pay interest. You
Right.
can just pay off your balance in full.
Mhm.
And there are options on how to get the best out of these credit cards,
Yes.
whether it's points or rewards, whatever it may be, and still avoid, carrying those balances. So I
Right.
appreciate this interview. You gave so much good information. I know people who missed the live, they're going to come and watch the playback, and this is so much valuable information. And I really do appreciate you for coming by and doing this interview with me.
Yes.
But to everyone that's watching right now, make sure you go and subscribe to Major Change Group. She has a lot of videos on her channel, helpful videos at that. Like I said, is one of my favorite channels, not just in the credit card space, but in general on YouTube,
Thank you.
because there's so much valuable information over there. So when you get done with this video, of course, hit the like button because y'all always shortchange us on the likes. Y'all don't realize how important likes are to content creators on YouTube because it
And
helps the algorithm.
comments.
Yeah,
Comments
and
too.
comments as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. So make sure after you're done with this video, you go watch her videos, you go and subscribe to her channel, and you support her. Tasha, I appreciate you for coming on here once again.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll be able to collab in the future.
Yeah. I
But
just want to say before we go, thank you so much for asking me to come on the channel. I'm just, I just thank you so much for it. I love your channel, and continue success for you and your channel.
all right. So we're gonna sign off soon, but I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. Even though it's only a couple of hours, it's Sunday night. Watch
Yeah.
some football. That's what I'm about to do. I'm about to watch some football, but
Oh goodness.
relax yourself, spend time with your family, your kids, your dog, whatever it is. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll talk to you later on.
Have a good one.